whether located in Ireland, England, Scotland or Wales. Any town can be transformed into a tourist trap, provided, of course, the songwriter prefixes the town's name with the flower of or the rose of. The problem, however, with the Rose of Allandale, spelt Allandale, for that's how the place name was spelt in the original song, is that tourists and audiences alike were not quite sure if Allandale was in Scotland or in Northumberland in England. Moreover, the songwriters were quite happy to keep the public guessing. The Rose of Allandale was jointly composed by Charles Jefferys and Sidney Nelson. There are no extant images of both men, but we know for certain that Charles Jefferys, the lyricist, was a prolific English songwriter who also ran a music publishing business from number 21 Soho Square in London. The accompanying melody was composed by his friend Sidney Nelson, a London-based musician. It seems that they may have completed the final draft of their song back in 1831, as a short time later, Jeffreys managed to convince John Wilson, a singer from Edinburgh, to sing it in the opera Rob Roy MacGregor, numerous performances of which were staged in January 1832 at the Theatre Royal in Covent Garden, London. The sheet music of the song was published 7 months later by Leonel Lee from Old Bond Street, and it was soon available to buy at music shops throughout Britain. The original song, it seems, was not meant to be a soulful ballad, but was to be sung with spirit, or, as the score would have it, cheerfully. Little wonder then that by 1850 the melody formed part of the repertoire of the band attached to the 81st Regiment of Foot, or the Loyal Lincoln Volunteers. Bizarrely, the song was adopted by Kilmarnock ventriloquist Duncan Macmillan. When Macmillan brought his act to St Andrews in October 1863, he introduced the bemused audience to one of his puppets, called the Woman Street Singer, the Fife Herald reporting that the said puppet belted out the Rose of Allandale, spelt this time without the middle A, with more force of lungs than grace of melody. The song arrived in Ireland a few years later. As the Belfast Weekly News recorded, it was sung on the 25th of June, 1872, during the monthly meeting of the Orange Lodge, Branch 809, held at the home of Brother Schofield in Anaha, near Monaghan town, just after the brethren drank a toast to the glorious, pious and immortal memory of King William III. Brother George Graham placed his glass on the table, straightened his sash, and delivered an impassioned rendering of the Rose of Allandale. The song quickly gained a foothold in most Irish counties. On the 21st of December 1876, it was sung by soprano Mrs. McWaters, a member of St. Nicholas Church Choir, during a Christmas concert held at Woodburn in Carrickfergus, County Antrim. And in January 1893, the Cork Daily Herald reported that it was sung in Mitchelstown, County Cork, by John O'Brien at a concert held under the auspices of the Mitchelstown Young Men's Association. With people now seeing that the ballad was much more than a throwaway marching ditty, the Rose of Allandale was rapidly becoming synonymous with love and with heartbreak. Not at all surprising then, since the verses tell of a man who sets out to sail the stormy seas of life, all the while believing that the girl he loves will remain his constant refuge and strength. She is the safe harbour for all of his dreams. Sidney Nelson's melody has remained relatively unchanged through the years, but Charles Jefferys' lyrics have been subject to a range of adjustments. For example, Mary's Highland cot became her Highland home, or gallant bark morphed into my lovely boat, and distant land became foreign lands. In 1931, the ballad was recorded in America for the Columbia label by Scottish-born singer Sandy McFarlane, who, while keeping Jefferys' words and Nelson's melody intact, delivered this old Scottish song with feeling and soul.
The morn was fair, the sky was clear, no breath came o'er the sea. When Mary left her Highland glen and wandered forth with me.
Between 1975 and 1987, the Jefferys-Nelson collaboration was recorded by a number of Irish singers, such as Johnny McAvoy, Mary Black, Sean Cannon, Foster and Allen, and Paddy Riley. We'll end our story with a rendition of the Rose of Allandale, as published in sheet music form back in August 1832. The morn was fair, the skies were clear, no breath came o'er the sea. When Mary left her Highland cot and wandered forth with me, though flowers decked the mountainside and fragrance filled the vale, by far the sweetest flower there was the Rose of Allandale. Was the Rose of Allandale, the Rose of Allandale, by far the sweetest flower there was the Rose of Allandale. Where'er I wandered east and west, though fate began to lower, a solace still was she to me in sorrow's lonely hour. When tempest lashed our gallant bark and rent her shivering sail, one maiden form withstood the storm. 'Twas the Rose of Allandale. 'Twas the Rose of Allandale. 'Twas the Rose of Allandale. One maiden form withstood the storm. 'Twas the Rose of Allandale. And when my fevered lips were parched on Afric's burning sand. She whispered hopes of happiness and tales of distant land. My life has been a wilderness, unblessed by fortune's gale. Had fate not linked my love to hers, the Rose of Allandale, the Rose of Allandale, the Rose of Allandale. Had fate not linked my love to hers, the Rose of Allandale, the Rose of Allandale.